And there we go, the new Singapore GP layout is finally out. Well, it came as a surprise for most of us, and suddenly out of nowhere EA decided, yo, it's a good time to drop the new track update. Anyway, anywho's, here we go, and we are back for another track guide. Unscheduled, of course, but probably a good time to get it out while it's still a hot cake and everyone wants to learn this track. So here we are. Let's get started with the setup. It's not changed that much from the previous setup, which was, with the old layout. So the only difference is after the back straight DRS, there's a longer straight compared to a sequence of corners. So, maybe you need a bit more top speed or whatnot. You can definitely, play around with the wings, maybe just 1 click or 2 click lower overall. But otherwise, in a race condition, maximum downforce is really good around Singapore, at least in the old layout when I did it, right? So you want to make sure that you get all the corners right, corners exit speeds, carry the speed through some of these tight corners, and having extra aero is going to help you. Going to help you with tire wear as well. 2-3 clicks definitely makes a difference. Transmission 50 on throttle. This again is just for qualifying to get extra rotation out of the rear when you're going on power. When you go higher on the on throttle, of course, it's going to make it more understeer in exit. So if you're getting too much oversteer on acceleration, you can always increase your on throttle differential. That will help you out bit by bit. Alright, otherwise you can just run it at 55, it should be alright. 60 in the race also works just nicely. Off throttle, it's to kind of balance out the setup basically. If you feel like the car is a bit wobbly when you're coasting or under braking, when you're trail braking into a corner, if you feel like the car is losing its back end even though your brake bias is already forward, you can always increase your off throttle to offset that imbalance. And you can go up to 52, 53, even up to 55 works in most setups. Given that this is a very high downforce track, you don't want to go too high, otherwise you start to lose a bit of a rotation in the car. So 50, 51, 52 is just nice again. And keep it there. In the race you can keep it higher, 1 click, and that should be fine. Suspension geometry, again, it's the same. I feel like it's like banging on a dead horse. Or whatever the saying goes, you just have to run this. It's pretty much the best suspension geometry out there for all tracks and conditions. Once again, disclaimer though, there are probably certain combinations that you may be able to find, maybe a bit more camber, a bit more toes, and suddenly that combination might be quicker for you. So go again on the track, experiment with it, and maybe you'll find it out to be better. Suspension, again, like I always say, this is where you can customize it. You can play around with the suspension setup to make the car behave as you want it. After you have satisfied yourself with the aero levels that you want, you can always come to the suspension and start playing around with it. And the default, if you want to look at the world record setup, it's something like this. I think 28, 8, and then 6, 1, 33, 36. So what I've done is I've just played around with it. So first of all, the current world record setup is using 50, 45 wing, so 5 click lower rear wing. And after I've added some front wing, some rear wing, the car became understeery. So to counter that off, 1 click lower right height on the front, 1 click higher right hand on the rear. So this kind of gives you more rotation, more pointiness on the front. The rear rotates more as well. And then front roll bar down to 5 to give a bit more turn in on the front in the mid corner face. And then rear suspension, I just lowered it a bit because it started to feel a bit unstable in the car. And then front suspension as well, just 2 clicks kind of made a difference actually. Sometimes you can notice 2 or 3 clicks of difference. So there you go, this is what I run. And if you need more rotation, for example, you can always play around with the front suspension, probably go lower, maybe 2 or 3 clicks at first. Or you can go higher by 1 click on the rear suspension. Equally, it's going to be the good thing to do. You can even go lower on the front anti-roll bar, or you can go higher on the rear anti-roll bar. Again, remember, whenever you add rotation to the car, it becomes a little bit more unstable. If you have too much rotation, you can't control it, so be mindful with your changes. You can even lower the rear right height, front right height, but you're going to start bottoming out a lot, so I don't recommend that. Otherwise, you can increase your rear right height to gain a bit more rotation in the car. Brakes. Now we have 100% brake pressure as always. Brake bias, you want to be running somewhere around 55 or 54 for the heavy braking zone. And then the rest of the track where it's just light tapping on the brakes, where you don't have to trail into a corner, you can run 53 even. And that's pretty much as good as it gets. And you know, play around with it, find what suits you. And you can always probably go higher or lower in the race condition depending on how your tire wear goes. If your tires rears are wearing out a lot more, you can push the brake bias forward. If the fronts are wearing out a lot more, you can push the brake bias rearwards. Be careful though, when you push it rearwards, the rear may lock up and you may go into half spin, and it's harder to generally control rear locking compared to front locking. Tire pressures, so kind of default over here, 5 clicks on the front, 3 clicks on the rear. You want to keep it low for Singapore because it's kind of very, not kind of very, it is very tough on the tires. Tires do overheat and tires do wear out quite quickly around here, and you just need some amount of pressure in the car, in the tires at least, to keep them in the ideal temperature range so that you get the optimal grip for your lap. Too much and it will start to overheat, and you know, there's no point in having a best setup. Too little and it may underheat, but it's still better than overheating the tires. There you go. So 50-50 wings, 55-51 transmission, right left geometry as always, 26 and 6 suspension, 5-1 roll bars, and 32-37 ride height, and 155 brakes, 5 clicks on the front for pressures and 3 clicks on the rear for the pressures as well. And there you go, Singapore setup is done. Now let's just quickly take a look at the track guide. So if you have stayed tuned until now, once again I thank you for your support as always, and I will see you all in the next one. So those of you who want to continue a little longer, and you can enjoy the track guide, and let's go. Right, so for Singapore, pretty much similar to any other track. Oh my goodness, I just skipped it. Well, that's not gonna be a track guide then. Well, let's go into a slow-mo and do a track guide around Singapore. Let's see. And by the power of editing, here we are. Let's go for a track guide. Perhaps this time let's just drive out instead, because you know, we did a juju and we can't, you know, flashback into a time trial to show you the best lap, right? Alright, anyway, let's take a look here. So Singapore, again, like I mentioned, as any other track, you want to have the best exit onto the straight here. Although it's a short pitch straight, in qualifying it will affect your time quite a bit. So you'd probably be in 6th gear and then turn in. You don't want to take too much of the curb here, maybe just a bit. If you take too much, the car will start to run too wide. Let the car run wide, even though, you know, I'm saying don't let it run wide. Let it run wide a little bit and bring it back slowly into the track limits. DRS is open right there behind, and then start finish straight. In time trial you can go over to the right here, but in the race condition qualifying, you probably want to avoid going too much on this painted curb, because the marbles are going to be on your tires and that's going to reduce your grip into turn 1. So ideally you want to be staying off the marble lines, and as soon as you pass this black box here, which is somewhere around the 100-meter board, that's where from 7th gear you can rev out 7th gear, and you'll be shifting down to 5th or 4th depending on how you like it. And then you want to take a lot of the inside curb here, a lot of it, as you can see. And as you take that, keep the car straight on the exit, and then apply some throttle while you get to the apex. Keep the car pinned to the apex as well here. And then 3rd gear, downshift, you can go for a late apex and straighten out the car as soon as possible. 3rd gear and 4th gear on the exit, and up to 5th, up to 6th, and then here you want to be braking right before the curb starts here. So let's see again before we butcher that once again. So this curb, brake there, and then down to 4th gear, get the car tucked in. You can take a bit of the inside curve and let the car run wide again, but keep turning and accelerating. 4th gear, 5th gear, DRS wide open, stay straight, and then start bringing the car over to the right over here. You can rev out 7th gear as well, because that's not going to matter if you go up to 8th. Right after you pass the 100-meter board, somewhere around here is where you're going to start to brake. and then down to 4th gear, and then on the apex you want to be taking the 3rd gear into the corner. So you can ride a bit of the entry curve here, but not too much. And then down to 3rd gear. This year in F123 you cannot mount this curve already, although it looks different. It's reprofiled, so you can touch it, but you don't want to take it too much. Ideally you just want to be as close as possible without touching it, so that you don't unsettle the car on the exit. Now 4th gear or 3rd gear on the exit, you can ride on the exit curve as much as you want and keep the car straight. It does not bottom out or wheel spin. So 4th gear, keep the car straight, and then next braking zone is going to be at the black box before the 50-meter board. You'll be arriving in 5th gear or 4th gear. You want to be braking in a straight line, as straight as possible, down to 4th gear, and then down to 3rd gear for the apex. You can downshift early or downshift late, tuck the car in, and then accelerate out of the corner, and then straighten out the car as soon as possible again. Bring the car over to the right to open up the next left-hander here, right after the 50 or the black box, depending on how you would like to take the corner. If you like to take it earlier, you can aim for the 50-meter board. If you want to take the later apex, you aim for probably the black box there. And then you're coming in 4th gear, or you can rev out 3rd gear, and then down to 3rd for qualifying and in race. And then on the exit you can upshift to 4th and let the car run wide and straighten out the steering so that you get a best exit. And then up to 5th, up to 6th, you can let the car rev out once again in 6th. There's no difference in upshifting to 7th, so you might as well rev it out to 6th. It helps with engine braking into the next corner. And right as you pass the 100-meter board, somewhere around 75, where the blue crane is, or there's a little concrete ending on this green curve here, the green wall here. That's where you probably be looking at or referring to in your peripheral vision to start braking. And then when you brake, you're just going to go down to 4th. So you're going to spam your downshift down to 4th gear, and then you'll be arriving in very high speed over here, somewhere around the 50 as well. You can brake later sometimes. And then you want to take a lot of the inside curve here, as much as you can, and then stay tight. You may have to downshift to 3rd to stay tight here, and maybe upshift back to 4th. As soon as the curve or the wall straightens out, that's where you want to tap on the brake just a little bit and downshift, and then turn the car into the corner and keep turning as much as you can. You can mount the curb on the inside again, but it's going to unsettle the car, run you wide onto the exit curb. So if you want to stay tight, open up the next complex. You want to avoid the inside curb on the right hand side here. 3rd gear, accelerate, straight line. 4th gear, and then here sometimes you can go flat for a moment, and then you just have to avoid the inside but stay tight. Let the car run wide, and then up to 5th gear, and then you want to open up the entry into the hairpin over here. So the tricky part here, as soon as you straighten out your car at these green Rolex boards, so that's where you're going to be braking heavy at the start, and then you'll be trailing into the corner. So down to 3rd gear, you can even take it in 2nd gear. I like to take it in 3rd actually. It keeps the car a little bit more stable. Tight on the apex and let the car run wide on the exit again. Sometimes the exit curb after this white line on the right side is a bit slippery, so you don't want to take too much of it, and you might as well stay entirely on the road, because game works funny way, right? And on the exit, keep going straight, and then DRS wide open here. Accelerate up to 7th. You don't need to accelerate upshift to 8th even here, because it's pretty short for a straight here, and you'll be looking somewhere in between the 100-meter and the 50-meter board to start braking. And then you'll have to practice this to get the feeling of it, to find somewhat of a mental reference for this corner. Now you'll be coming in 7th gear, brake heavy in a straight line, and then down to 4th gear, and then you can even take the apex in 3rd gear if you need to. On the exit, accelerate in a straight line. The track limit for the exit is this white line here, as you can see. So from this curve here, this white line that it's in the middle of the car, that's where the track limit is. So you can run pretty wide here, as wide as you want, as long as one tire is still touching the white line. This is still considered to be within track limits. So run your car as wide as possible on the exit and keep it straight. You'll probably be coming out in 3rd or 4th gear. Go 5th, And this is where the new complex, well, sort of, not really a new complex, the new straight is added into the game. So previously you'd probably be turning right around here, and after this king you'll be turning right usually, but this time in this game you want to stay tight to the left. And yeah, this is where the old complex has been closed and it continues straight on here. So continue straight. This may be an overtaking opportunity in the race if you get someone on the switchback coming out of the last corner there. And then you'll be arriving into the next corner in 7th gear, and then you'll be looking at somewhere around 50 and 100 once again. So around 100-meter board. After that you pass it just maybe a second later, around 75 or 60, 65, whichever you find comfortable. You brake in a straight line down to 4th gear, down to 3rd gear to take the apex, and then you want to miss the, you don't want to miss too much either. You want to just miss it enough so that you are not mounting the curb, because it's gonna slightly unsettle the car. You want to be close so that you open up the exit. So 3rd gear and 4th gear on the exit, you can sometimes mount this curb and keep it straight on the exit. Let the car run wide again on the exit, take the curb as much as you want. 5th gear, 6th gear, and for the next corner, where are you going to turn in? You're going to be turning in as soon as you pass this orange or the black board on your top right side. So as soon as you pass that, or the black Singapore GP board or this orange board that you pass here, as you pass that, you'll be arriving in 6th gear. You can downshift to 5th just to get the car into the apex, but either way you'll be applying a lot of throttle in 5th or 6th gear, half throttle or 3/4, lift up, and then once you get the car into the apex, accelerate as soon as you can. DRS wide open for a brief moment, and there you go, Singapore is done. So thank you so much for watching once again. I will leave you with this and with the setup as well in the description. You may join the Discord if you like this stuff, and probably drive around with people, if you want to get more community setups, or if you want some setup suggestions how to fix your setups, you can always join the Discord channel and we'll help you out with that. We have a setup bot which is going to help you out with common setup fixes, so hopefully that will help you out. Take care everyone, stay safe, and bye bye.